Americans are being watched, and it's getting worse by Second Thought. I'm not gonna play the whole thing. Gotta ask of respect to his channel, so go watch it yourself. It's one of his newest slate of videos. He does an amazing job. Like, man, getting behind this camera and microphone and commentating is hard, but the work that Case Study QB does, finding clips for from mainstream media just to help us, talk about our story, or for a perfect union, going out in the streets, talking to people, talking to union reps and all that stuff, or Second Thought, like pulling up articles, breaking down like what the fuck our government is doing that they're not really telling us about. Like, it's hard work. It really is some hard work. Yeah. They're watching us, man. Like, they watching me right now behind this camera, and it'll be a matter of time before some motherfucking pig come knocking at my door saying, "Hey, we gonna have to seize your computer," or some shit like that. Oh man, I just have that feeling, like, especially with Trump here, man. Like, you never know. Like, you never know. So yeah, I'm finna play this video and break it down. The usual, but I won't play the whole thing though, obviously. So here we go.
Okay, so there's a building in Tribeca that we think is an NSA base of operations. Let's see how many cameras we can get caught on the way there. Now, there are about 15,000 cameras in New York, and by best estimates, you'll pass about 100 publicly accessible ones just to get to Lower Manhattan. Here's a map. And you know what? Here's 2 random blocks in Bushwick. Again, 15,000 cameras. 15,000 cameras that, by some estimates, can identify you from over 2 blocks away. They're pretty much everywhere, and if cops have access to them, you can bet they'll be combined with automated facial recognition software. Just between 2017 and 2021, the NYPD used facial recognition tech in 22,000 cases, including to track down BLM protesters back in 2020.
See what I'm talking about? Told y'all to track BLM protesters back in 2020. I'm not surprised. Pretty sure now, 2024, 2023, when the pro-Palestine protests were happening, I'm pretty sure they use facial recognition software, and facial recognition software is not perfect. Like, the problem with that is, like, it could be two people could kind of look identical, like identical twins, like, obviously, or 2 people they're not twins but they kind of favor, like, I favor a few people, like, one of those cameras catch me, they think I'm doing something, but it's not me, it's somebody else that look like me, like that. See what I'm saying? Like, it's just like this shit this is some scary ass shit. This is New York City. I'm pretty sure Atlanta like this, LA like this, Chicago, Seattle, Miami, like these big cities, and it's coming to it's coming to smaller cities too, like Monroe and Shreveport. I'm pretty sure, like, they're gonna have facial recognition software. Like, they have traffic cameras every goddamn well. Like don't run no goddamn red light like I did. Apparently, they claim I did, and I was in fucking Tennessee. I went to Tennessee for something, and the red light camera apparently said I ran the red light, which I clearly didn't. The light was yellow. You could run through a yellow light. You can't run through a red light, obviously. But they gave me $130 ticket. So yeah, like, the camera didn't do a good job. He didn't do a good job. So yeah, this is not good, man.
2020. That's because this software, according to The Intercept, can automatically tag activities like loitering, no chance that's ever problematic, and automatically index things like people's race and gender. Nothing to worry about there either. But cameras
about that though, like, what if somebody is not don't identify as a gender? Why would they why would they recognize as they them? Like, so basically, it can misgender you too. Like, oh my god, yeah, this is such good technology. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure how many like they'll catch old Papa Slim loitering, smoking a joint while the real fucking criminals is fucking, these corporations stealing from us every fucking day. Yeah, they'll catch them. No, they get away scot free in their yachts, while they catch a young blood with a dime bag of weed. What a backward society we live in. Let me continue.
Are just one part of the arsenal of surveillance tools that cops have at their disposal. Since they've become much more common, cops have repurposed body cams for everyday surveillance, sent out drones to film protests, used special automated license plate readers all over the city, set up fake cell towers to collect phone call data, and a lot more to keep track.
Guys, I know I say I'm quit interrupting every fucking 8 seconds, but I just can't help it. I just got a lot of questions like, why you need drones at a peaceful protest? Why you need cops and fucking body armor, with shields and helmets at a peaceful protest? It's peaceful for a reason, like people chanting free Palestine and from the river to the sea. But you need drones and fucking shield. But I know why they do that. They want to, protests always most of them be peaceful until guess who shows up? The pigs. When the pigs show up, then it becomes rowdy, of course, because pigs are also rowdy fuckers. But let me
Track of where people are, who they're talking to, and
I forgot to y'all. So tips: when you go into a protest, wear a mask, cover your face, a bandana or something like that. And don't take your main cell phone, people. Please don't do that. Use a dummy phone. Like, I got like a little cheap prepaid phone, bring a little dummy phone just in case you need to contact somebody. Leave your main phone at home because yes, they can ping your phones. Like, you think Apple and Samsung care about your privacy? No. No, they don't give a fuck about your privacy. Like, they collect all your fucking data and get it to who? These motherfuckers. And also to have a change of clothes too when you done protesting. Like, change your clothes that way you'll look different. All those cameras, assuming if they looking for you, then it'll be hard to identify you. So yeah, man, like, please, people, if you protesting, please be safe out there, man. Like, yep, they can ping your phones. I know folks want to record and all that stuff. You can record, but bring like a camera or something, like a real photography camera. Don't use your phone because they can ping your phone. That's what I'm saying. Okay, back to the video.
what they do at all times. And they're not the only ones. Regular apps on your phone have found crazy ways to track you too. A few years ago, a French app for finding hotels and restaurants was found by the Yale Privacy Lab to track its users' location. Not with the GPS on your phone, mind you, but by having speakers in public locations make a sound that humans can't hear, but our phones can pick up. And that pales in comparison with the mountains of data companies like Google, Facebook, and Amazon have on us. Google stores your search history indefinitely, even in incognito. But even when you're not using the search function, Google tracking infrastructure is on 92 of the top 100 websites and 923 of the top 1,000. With how much Google owns or can access through the websites it has a backdoor for, the company has data on everything from your location to your address, email, and name, all the links you click on, how long you spend on any one page, what you buy, and who you talk to. And since the Snowden leaks, we know that all that info can get fed upstream to surveillance agencies like the FBI and NSA. Through programs like Prism, Boundless Informant, and XKeyscore, the NSA taps Microsoft, Google, Facebook, and Apple servers to search through emails, online messages, and browsing history. And if that's not enough, these same programs allow the NSA to use AT&T and Verizon's records to collect the time, location, and people involved in a phone call for millions of Americans without any need for prior authorization. Just to give you
Thank you, government, for that. Yeah. Remember the Patriot Act? Yeah, that's what that act entails of. Like, yeah, we can just randomly screen your calls. Like, and people said this is a democracy, the freedom. I like how these right wing hacks on Twitter and Facebook and other platforms, when you say this country is no democracy, ain't no freedom, they say, move to Venezuela. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you probably get more fucking freedom in Venezuela than you do here when you got fucking NSA right now, probably hearing my fucking podcast. Like, and also too, he didn't mention this, like your camera system too, like they can see what you're doing. So if you jacking off on camera in front of your phone, most likely the NSA could see that too. So that's a bad, that's a weird example, but it's true, man. It's crazy. Like, yeah. And I like those ads Apple had about privacy. Your privacy is important. No, it's not. It ain't important because you guys allow this to happen. Okay, I guess y'all have to comply, right? But yeah, no democracy in America.
an idea, according to the Brennan Center, the FBI conducted 3.4 million warrantless searches on Americans' phone calls, emails, and text messages in 2021 using a law that, on paper, can only be used to spy on foreigners overseas, which is already problematic. This is a lot, and there's way more, but we'll get to that in a minute. Because first I want to know how we got here. The amount of surveillance we can be subjected to at a moment's notice is truly dystopian. Most of us would rather not think about the public-private partnership between the police, federal agencies, and tech companies built on collecting millions of hard drives worth of personal data. How did this happen? Our story starts here in Silicon Valley. Here on Sand Hill Road is where, in 1999, the CIA backed the private nonprofit venture capital firm In-Q-Tel. Initially, In-Q-Tel was a pretty unimportant little office meant to keep an eye on Silicon Valley, fund a few things here and there, and see if tech companies were coming up with anything useful for the intelligence community. An experiment meant to last 5 years, nothing more. Just down the road, about a 20-minute drive away and less than a year before, Google launched their own little company out of a garage, a search engine meant to compete with the likes of Yahoo and AltaVista. And for a while, neither of these companies mattered very much. Google was a fledgling company, just one search engine of many, and In-Q-Tel was proving to be somewhat of a failed CIA experiment, a 5-year project that hadn't really done much of anything. Neither was this a great time for advocates of more surveillance. The scale of the internet was steadily growing in the late 90s, and Americans started feeling that this might threaten their privacy. So after years of letting internet companies self-regulate, in 2000 the government started moving. Robert Pitofsky, the FTC chairman, was in the New York Times boldly coming after .com companies and saying e-commerce threatened to intrude on people's personal lives. And legislation was drafted to protect what people did on the internet. It required companies to limit what personal details they could collect, as well as make it clear what they were collecting, how it was used, and give people the option to correct it or delete it entirely. So basically, everything Google, Amazon, and Facebook do now would have either become illegal or subjected to a lot of public scrutiny with the law on the side of internet users.
So basically, they were being pro-consumer at the time. Wow, that's a good idea. Like, don't keep my data and use it, sell it to other people. Like, yeah, that was a good thing at the time. Yeah, that's a good idea. Like, I I upload Pornhub. I don't want Google and Amazon and Facebook to collect collect that fucking shit. Oh, goodness gracious. Then I know, then from there it goes downhill. I know.
To give you an idea, in the fall of 2000, the Clinton administration wanted to raise the legal requirement before law enforcement could access emails, and was actually criticized by Republicans for not doing enough to protect privacy. And then everything changed after 9/11. Okay, let's go backwards from where we just ended. First, the legislation. 45 days after 9/11, Congress passed the Patriot Act. Pretty much overnight, all those concerns about privacy went out the window. A state of emergency was declared, and terrorism became the mainstream diet of American media consumption. This neatly paved the way for the Patriot Act and the barrage of policies that followed.
And also, too, you gotta understand too that worked at the time as well, because people believed that Bin Laden attacked us before we found out that it was an inside job. I'm not gonna get into all that, but yeah. So people were worried about terrorism. Put that in parentheses on our U.S. soil, which was done by us. And while these motherfuckers just signed a bill that says you have no privacy. So, yeah.
Which all made it much easier for the government to monitor phone calls and emails, collect banking and credit records, and keep a closer and closer eye on what Americans do online. Through what are called national security letters, for example, the FBI could obtain all sorts of personal information about Americans without the approval of a judge. They could hold on to it indefinitely and prevent those who have been tapped from even talking about it, assuming they ever found out. Second, Google. All those FTC regulations went out the window too. Internet companies had started getting reasonably worried that the World Wild West and their cattle baron status within it wasn't going to survive the anti-surveillance FTC and the American public's reasonable fear of mass invasions of privacy. After 9/11, though, every regulatory project that could have threatened them was immediately canned.
With Asana, AI teammates can pull real-time data.
QTEL. After 2001, gone were the days of the temporary little CIA experiment in Silicon Valley. With 9/11, In-Q-Tel became a permanent fixture in California and suddenly got a lot of interest from Valley startups looking to trade the surveillance tech they had developed and the data, which they were suddenly completely justified in collecting, legally speaking, for government cash. And in the next decade, no one took greater advantage of that than Google. In late summer 2003, Google scored a $2 million gig to set up Google search technology at the NSA and separately customized software for the CIA. Then the next year, Google deepened the connection by acquiring another CIA/In-Q-Tel funded venture called Keyhole, a satellite mapping company that would become Google Earth. In 2007, Google's Peter Norvig gave a presentation at the Pentagon's Highlands Forum, an incubator for SV companies that the intelligence community tapped for surveillance ideas. And in 2009, Google took things even further, joining forces with the CIA's In-Q-Tel again to fund a startup called Recorded Future that monitored, quote, every aspect of the web in real time in order to predict future events. All the while, top people are, of course, rotating back and forth between these intelligence agencies and Google. Point is, after 9/11, Google and the intelligence community kickstarted a process of codependent growth. If things looked a little dicey for them in the 90s, a combination of close personal relationships and, quote, direct sponsorship and informal networks of financial influence pushed Google further and further down the path of surveillance technology at precisely the same time as the legal infrastructure meant to protect privacy was dismantled. This was a perfect symbiotic relationship. Intelligence agencies needed surveillance capitalist companies, and they needed the intelligence community's financial and institutional.
Google basically wanted to get their hands dirty. So Google just took what In-Q-Tel wanted to do and just did it themselves, which is fucked up. And that's the reason why I need to start using DuckDuckGo. I'm supposed to start using it, but after watching this, I really didn't know that Google was deep in the hands of the CIA and the NSA. Like, I searched a lot of shit up on Google, and yeah, it's unfortunately collected by the NSA. Like, oh boy, boy, boy. Nothing illegal, guys. It's just stuff that, I was younger then too. Like, I mean, let me continue.
Institutional support. For companies, getting cozy with intelligence agencies protects their ability to burrow ever more deeply into our private data. So long as cops can get warrantless access to Ring footage, for example, Amazon can feel pretty confident in its ability to develop what has essentially become the largest corporate aggregated network of CCTV cameras on Earth. And if this wasn't clear enough, they've even gone so far as to lay out a 4-part plan specifically for police departments to follow so they can increase the number of people in a neighborhood who will get a Ring camera. Then on the other side of the relationship, intelligence agencies and
So really, if you have a Ring doorbell camera, Amazon will allow the pigs to get it without obtaining a warrant. See all these tech companies, man. Amazon, Google, Apple, Apple in this too. I'm not gonna play the whole thing. Play a few more minutes of it. Like, you see what I'm saying, guys? Like, they see what they see everything that we're doing. Everything. And everybody in their moment should watch this video, man. You should be fucking pissed. Like, right wingers, where you at? Like, your government, your party signed on to this back in 2001, 45 days after 9/11. Like, y'all should be angry too. And then what they did too, like, this is the slickest shit. They named it a Patriot Act. Yeah. Patriot is so patriotized, why they spying on you looking on Pornhub. Well, man,
and police forces are deeply dependent on these companies. No intelligence agency can compete with the amount of information a private company can collect and store. The NSA can't convince anyone to willingly put a GPS tracker in their pocket at all times the way Google can. There's another benefit for intelligence agencies and police departments, though. Despite the Patriot Act and the avalanche of anti-privacy laws that sailed through Congress after 9/11, the Constitution still makes it at least a little difficult for government agencies to spy on Americans. Not impossible, but either too slow or not quite unlimited enough for the likes of the NSA. Thankfully for the intelligence community, there's a loophole. To quote legal scholar Jack Balkin, because the Constitution does not reach private parties, government has increasing incentives to rely on private enterprise to collect and generate information for it. In other words, by contracting out both the labor of developing surveillance technology and carrying out the actual work of data collection, then simply partnering with tech companies to parse that information, surveillance can be as comprehensive and immediate as the NSA wants without having to contend with what few legal protections limit government spying on citizens. And this all perfectly coincided with some internal developments at Google that would supercharge this data collection even further. Take a look at this patent. In 2005, Google filed a patent for what it called generating user information for use in targeted advertising. There's a lot of diagrams in there that frankly don't make it any easier to understand what they're actually patenting, but that's not what really matters. What you need to know is the story behind this patent. That for years and years, Google was struggling. They had raised tons of money from investors and established a pretty dominant place in the search engine market. Now they just needed to figure out how to actually generate revenue doing that. Google knew they couldn't really charge people a fee without killing the business. Nor could they start selling search results that they had aggregated for free and without prior consent from website owners. So up to that point, Google was making do running just a few ads related to what you searched and providing web services for bigger names like Yahoo. Nothing terribly lucrative. And when the dot-com crash hit in 2000, investors realized this wasn't going to make enough money to justify taking a risk on the brand new commercial internet. They needed something else. It all clicked in April of 2001. Just 5 months before 9/11, Amit Patel, one of the first people to work at Google, found out that every time someone ran a search through the engine, Google happened to collect information on that search like, quote, the number and pattern of search terms, how a query is phrased, spelling, punctuation, dwell times, click patterns, and location. Data that, up to that point, Google didn't really have any use for and was just sitting in some server somewhere. What Patel and Google's founder Larry Page realized in April, though, is that all this information could not only be used to improve Google's public-facing service, the search engine, but could be of huge interest to the much more profitable advertising backend.
That's it right there. That right there. So basically, Google realized that, hey, let's not charge people a fee, a monthly subscription. Better yet, let's just collect their data. I said data. Sorry, y'all. I talk funny. Excuse me. Let's collect their data and sell their data to the advertisers, so that way the advertisers can recommend their products to the people, to you, the consumer. Wow, man. Capitalism at its finest right there.